Caught Up by Navessa Allen is a 2025 dark romance novel published as the second installment of her Into Darkness series. The story follows Junior Trocchi and Laura Marchetti, who were born on two sides of an Italian-American mafia. When they dated in high school, Lauren documented their sexual encounters in a secret journal that her jealous friend Kelly posts online. At the same time, Lauren's father Tommy threatened to kill Junior if he ever looked at Lauren again. When Junior's father Nico learned about that, tension sparked between the family. To prevent a war, Junior chose to abandon Lauren while she was being bullied over the journal. Devastated, she later transferred to another school, thus suspending their relationship. 10 years later, the story begins. Junior is now a jaded mobster, desperate to leave the business in which Nico has trapped him. He's still in love with Lauren and has been stalking her ever since. Lauren is now a cam model who operates a private club with her roommates. She still resents Junior for betraying her, but expresses gratitude for the life that she's built. Junior and his brothers are ordered to dispose of what is heavily implied to be Tommy's corpse, thus permitting Junior to reunite with Lauren. The next Sunday, he attempts to seduce her at church. She scolds him and marches away, but can't help feeling aroused. After relaying the story to her roommates, they agree to spend the night at their club as a way to distract her. Junior follows her there and begs for forgiveness. Convinced of his sincerity, she lets him fingerbang her as a manner of apology. That night, her roommates tell her that their club's landlord McKinney is raising their rent to a price they can't afford, which she later confides in Junior. Junior and Lauren initiate a tedious relationship defined by intrusion, hesitancy, and miscommunication, which they invariably resolve with sex, but as they continue to date, they strengthen their bond. Whenever they're apart, Lauren learns more about Tommy's absence, and Junior's attitude towards Nico grows increasingly hostile. Eventually, Junior invites Lauren to a cookout with his cousin and her fiancé Josh. There he meets Tyler, whom he learns is McKinney's bookie. That night, he makes a deal with Tyler for McKinney's debt, so he can use it to bargain for the deed to Lauren's club. He also realizes after talking to Josh that the best way to defeat Nico is to threaten his family's unity. Soon after, Lauren discovers that Junior was involved in Tommy's disappearance. Horrified, she prepares an ambush at his apartment to confront him. When he returns with McKinney's deed, Lauren attacks him. They struggle until Junior shouts in frustration that he murdered Tommy and only wooed Lauren to insult his memory, causing Lauren to leave in anguish. 3 days later, Junior breaks into her room and presents video proof that Tommy's alive, explaining that his family was only hired to fake Tommy's death so he could escape prosecution. This relieves the tension between them and they have sex to reconcile. Now that Junior owns real estate, he no longer relies on Nico for income, so he gathers Lauren and his immediate family to resign over dinner. He then explains that if Nico attempts to stop him, he'll cease all communication and dismantle the family. Nico is outraged, but the strategy works, and Junior triumphantly leaves the mob. The rest of the family agree to meet for monthly dinners, and Junior and Lauren live out their days as a happy couple. The first two chapters are excellent introductions to the characters. Chapter 1 thrusts us into Junior's perspective with no time to explain why he's covered in blood. He and his brothers watch from a riverbank as their car full of evidence sinks under the water. They remark callously about their deeds in a manner showing us they're accustomed to crime. Junior then walks home through a dense atmosphere of decrepit streets and neon lighting while recounting his history with Nico and Tommy. This opening hook sets the stage perfectly by swiftly presenting the characters, immersing us in their environment, and visually demonstrating everything that we'll need to know about them. Chapter 2 shifts to Lauren's perspective while she's producing a cam video with her roommates. They tease each other over minor embarrassments, but their love and rapport is made obvious. She reflects on how profitable her modeling has been, the luxury she's provided for them, and the joy she receives from pleasing her fans. Once again, the relevant information is established, and this time a contrast is made between the lead personalities, thus foreshadowing every inevitable conflict that will arise from their interactions. But while dual protagonists can be interesting, they also invite certain challenges. In this case, Junior's chapters are much more involved in the plot, meaning Lauren has less required of her. But because they're granted an equal number of pages, Lauren's chapters are primarily used to summarize previous events, which is often unnecessary. As such, her half of the book is much less interesting than Junior's because his half contains most of the action. Another problem with this structure is its inconsistent tone. Junior's chapters are bloody and grim while Lauren's are cheery and humorous. Switching between the perspectives of such distinct personalities creates an inherent tonal clash, but that can be beneficial. After all, levity is important for any story that tackles difficult themes, but the humor in Lauren's perspective is too cartoonish to be read comfortably alongside the gritty sex and violence. An issue unrelated to using dual protagonists is the unhealthy dynamic between Junior and Lauren, and while almost every character acknowledges it as part of the eroticism, their relationship is ultimately encouraged. Junior is absolutely terrifying as a romantic partner. He touches Lauren without her consent, he tracks her every move of the planet device, and he's generally unashamed of all the ways he makes her uncomfortable because he knows how attractive she finds him and uses that as validation. Whenever he upsets her too greatly, he apologizes only for offending her and relies on sexual favors to make amends. Lauren, meanwhile, has very little agency. She's consistently aggravated by his behavior, but always distracted by lust, and she eventually forgives him for everything. This weakness is not portrayed as a sympathetic quality, and as such she comes across as helpless and stupid, which are ill-fitting traits for the confident and successful businesswoman that she's been presented as. To clarify, I am not opposed to the concept of unlikable protagonists in harmful situations. My concern with Junior and Lauren is that they have few redeemable qualities and only exacerbate each other's flaws, which leaves me no reason to support them as a couple. Furthermore, I don't believe their relationship is worth criticizing if they significantly develop them as characters, but Lauren has no character arc and Junior only demonstrates growth when their breakup forces his hand. Also, because Junior is so quick to bother Lauren and they instinctively resolve conflict with sex, the results of their many arguments are often interchangeable, which forces the plot to escalate slowly. Now I'd like to discuss the twist that Junior did not kill Tommy. When Lauren realizes that Junior was responsible for Tommy's disappearance, she sneaks into his apartment and attacks him. The intensity of this reaction shows that any harm toward a family is an act she wouldn't excuse. She may forgive Junior for deserting her in high school, but she would never forgive him for killing her father. If Junior had crossed this line, he would have suffered irrevocable consequences, which could have been a great transition to an emotional third act. But when he proves that he only faked Tommy's death, the conflict is suddenly resolved with minimal effort. I dislike this twist for two reasons. First of all, the knowledge that Tommy is alive recontextualizes the opening scene as a rug pull. We now know that we were tricked, not by Junior himself, but by the author, into believing that he killed his true love's father before the novel began. The hook remains a crucial event, so the story isn't ruined, but I find the deception irritating nonetheless. Second of all, the conflict is resolved before it can have a lasting impact on the plot. Once Junior explains the situation to Lauren, they apologize for hurting each other and have sex to heal their relationship. But since all of their feuds conclude this way, this major outlash that left both of them injured is somehow structurally identical to any of their other disputes. If this fight were removed as is, nothing significant about the story would change. In other words, it's a waste of time. But a more substantial flaw with the story is its ending. Junior's hatred for Nico is well established. Nico forced him to part with Lauren for her protection by threatening Tommy. He then used him to commit atrocities on behalf of the mob for over a decade, which wreaked havoc on his mental health. Tired of this abuse, Junior determines to free himself from Nico's grasp by securing a legitimate income and a defense against Nico's authority. His approach to acquire income is quite clever. When he learns Lauren is being swindled by McKinney, he absorbs his debt from Tyler, then forces him to pay with a deed to her club. As the new owner, he can assist Lauren with her operation while sharing the profit. Aside from my criticism that Tyler is introduced awkwardly late, I believe this aspect of the plot is well written. Junior's defense against Nico, however, is absurdly simple. Realizing that Nico's greatest fear is abandonment, he gathers the family and declares that if Nico attempts to prevent them from quitting, then he'll permanently sever their relationship. Because the others stand with Junior, Nico begrudgingly accepts their terms. So Junior assembled allies without having to persuade them, and the ease of his success implies that he could have attempted this at any time. As such, the ending is completely anticlimactic. In conclusion, Caught Up is a boring novel that traps its characters in an aimless plot with an infinite climax. It lures in readers with a compelling hook, only to squander its pages with repetitive prose and incessant conflicts. The pornography may be enough to sustain its demographic, but anyone wishing for a competent story will be left disappointed. As such, I cannot recommend it.